Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. J.K. Rowling is stirring the pot again in this whole gender debate, and good on her. She has a friend, I suppose you could say, who was the victim of an attack and who went to the Edinburgh R Crisis Centre. This is the one that's very controversial that hired a man. And then you had Sandy Brindley, who was the chief executive, trying to make light of it. Oh, well, I unreservedly apologise, blah, blah, blah. But doesn't actually, do anything to apologise. Just mouths these pointless platitudes. Well, this woman, called Paula, that's all we're going to call her for her own safety, if you will, her own protection. So it's not Paula is not her real name, but it's the name that she's chosen to use because she's penned this open letter and J.K. Rowling has backed her and has published it in full on her account on X, on J.K. Rowling's account on X. And it is rather critical, should we say, of Sandy Brindley, critical of the ERCC, the Crisis Centre in question, and he's rather scathing over any attempts by Brindley to apologise. Now, of course, Brindley was the one that hired this man, Riddle Wadder. Why anyone would hire a man to run a crisis centre is beyond anyone's understanding. Obviously, it was done for wokey reasons. Oh, look at me being virtuous. Screw the women. Don't care about them. Don't care about the trauma. Don't care about re-traumatising them. We'll just put a man in there. Because, we want to look like we're progressive. And that's the problem they've got. But this survivor has written this letter. And, like I say, JK's published it. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole letter. But I am going to read out a significant little part of it, which I think really does sum it up. And this is basically from a survivor to Brindley, and that's how it's being headed up by Rowling. And it's because, and I think the reason she's saying it's constantly because these people are putting their own agenda ahead of the safety and concern of women, and that is wrong. And so she's absolutely right. But she's written about this whole thing. She says, to be honest, she said, I didn't even know who you are. She's talking about Sandy Brindley here. She said, to be honest, I didn't even know who you were until a few weeks ago. And when the whole report into the Crisis Centre came out and Wadder resigned, I thought I could put this whole experience behind me. Last week, however, I heard on the BBC that you unreservedly apologise for failing the ERCC. I have had no such apology. In fact, quite the opposite. It says, in July this year, I received an email apologising for the GDPR breach that saw my email used in the Ros Adams tribunal. Ros Adams was the woman who basically broke the story and said that she was unhappy at having a man in the centre. And then she was fired, and it turns out it was constructive dismissal, and she won her case at the tribunal. She was fired for being gender critical. She was fired for complaining that there was a man in a crisis centre, effectively. Anyway, she won. But this woman, Paula, had her email used in that case for the defence to try and, act against Ros Adams. So it's like one of these things. Why? Why would you use this without permission? It's weird. Anyway, there was no mention, she said, of the entirely inappropriate email I'd received from Riddle Wadder in August 21 that shamed me into silence for 2.5 years. And until I saw it used in the tribunal in January 2023. Am I genuinely meant to believe I'm going to get a sincere apology from a witness that felt it was okay to file my email as hate mail? Having you suggest I've had any sort of apology is incredibly thoughtless and hurtful. She goes on, she says a few more things. I'm not going to go into all of that. It's quite extensive. And then she says about, this thing having hurt her and it's re-traumatizing. And she's absolutely right. And I'm sure she won't be the only one. Sandy Brindley is just genuinely a piece of human filth for actually thinking that what she was doing was acceptable. And now she's gone. Thankfully, she's gone. And it was this sort of thing that's happened that, and I've mentioned it before, but it's fair to mention it again because of the pertinence of what's going on. It was exactly this sort of thing that drove J.K. Rowling herself to set up an alternative crisis centre in Edinburgh. And she's funding that herself out of her money. I mean, fair enough. She's got a lot of it. She's earned a lot of it off her own back. This is off her talent. And she is giving something back. And I'm in praise of that. And I'm actually in awe of J.K. Rowling. Don't agree with her on every political point there is out there. But she does, A, put her money where her mouth is, and B, she's shown that she has got a sense of decency and compassion, which seems to be missing, I think, in a lot of the people that are rising to the heights in politics these days. There seems to be no compassion left. And for, J.K. Rowling, a billionaire who could quite simply not care, to get involved in things like this, I think is astonishing. Anyway, Brindley asked the Sunday Mail if reporters wanted the phone numbers of women, and I've done the video on this. She offered to give contact details to survivors who'd come to that crisis centre expecting to be looked after and expecting privacy. And she was willing to give reporters their names and addresses and telephone numbers. This is truly, truly despicable. She said, are you going to speak to some of these survivors? That would be an important voice. If ever you're talking about me resigning, to include them. She was trying to victimise herself. She was trying to become the victim of a story where she was the one pushing trauma onto already traumatised women. It backfired, though, because a lot of women on seeing this came out and said, no. Completely the opposite. It was truly awful. We do not back her. And loads of them come out. And that was her resigning then. And thankfully. And she should never, ever be allowed to work anywhere near care again. She cannot be trusted. She's a very dangerous woman. So well done. And well done to JK for helping to highlight this. Thanks very much. Let me know what you think, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.